Yeah, okay. I've got a message.
Yeah, me too.
Did you get a message, Sarah?
Yeah, saying it's live streaming on YouTube.
Right.
So you have to share me the link by opening the YouTube so you know the link where it is. I need the link in the chat box.
Yeah. We are online. Did you get a message, Sarah?
Yeah, saying it's live streaming on YouTube.
So maybe you have to mute the YouTube. So otherwise there will be two voices. Where it is. I need the link in the chat box.
We are online.
You both have to mute your YouTube.
Yeah, did that.
Okay. So we go 3, 2, 1. Okay. Warm greetings. On behalf of Friday Waters, an initiative of the W for W Foundation, a think tank built as Citizens Collective, we welcome you to today's session. Today's session is on water arts, and Friday Waters is a continuation of our signature series, Wednesdays for Water. And the activities initiated in Friday Waters includes water talkies, reading club, water thesis club, and today's water arts. Each of these sessions takes place once a month. And the idea is to bring water knowledge available in various alternate forms at one place to highlight the opportunities and challenges related to water. The idea is also to increase the outreach of these alternate ways of water practices in the water networks as well as society at large. You can get more about what we do as Water Conversations in www.w4in for regular updates. The Water Arts session on Making Water Everybody's Business is hosted by Living Waters Museum. The session will be moderated by Sukhpreet Sen, who has been our speaker in previous Wednesdays and Friday sessions. Sukhpreet is a heritage and disaster management by profession and a musician by passion. He's trained in tabla and an Indian percussion instrument and has been long involved with classical music for last 2 decades. So I will invite Sukhpreet to take charge of the session. And please invite your speaker and discussant for today. And thank you, Sukhpreet, and both the speakers for coming today. Over to you, Sukhpreet.
Thank you so much. Hi, I represent the Living Waters Museum. I look after the art and outreach in the museum, and I also look after the Calcutta chapter. Today is Water Arts session on making water everybody's business. And the focus of this session is on bringing the artists who have associated their art form with different attributes of water together to start these conversations. I've always felt that conversations around water may often get very scientific, and somehow I feel that these conversations have been restricted to a certain category of the society. And this is where art plays a vital role in enlarging the circle of our audiences alongside the promotion of the art form as well. This is why we from the Living Waters Museum have always tried to find more innovative and creative ways to start conversations around rather heavy current affairs. And I'm glad more people are slowly recognizing this and relooking at the role of art and artists in scientific discourses. Today, I'm very happy because I'm joined by Dr. Sarah Ahmed, the director and founder of the Living Waters Museum, and also the discussant for today's session. We also have Ms. Namrata Bhutoria as the guest speaker, who's the co-founder of Color Ashram Foundation and the founder of natural dyed clothing label Biome Conscious Fashion. Before I give the floor to Dr. Ahmed, I would just like to mention that Dr. Ahmed is the founder director of the Living Waters Museum and an adjunct professor at the Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, Pune. She has a PhD in environmental sociology from the University of Cambridge. In 2017, she launched the Living Waters Museum, a virtual repository on water heritage. She has been an adjunct professor at Ahmedabad University and currently serves on the board of WaterAid India, Wetlands International South Asia, and the Global Network of Water Museums. May I now hand it over to Dr. Ahmed to take the session further with Namrata. Over to you. Thank you so much. Sarah? You're muted.
Yeah. Hi, sorry, everyone. Great. Thank you for the introductions. Happy to be here and for Living Waters Museum to be associated with Friday for the Arts. Namrata and I have known each other for some time now, I think almost the last 2 or 3 years, Namrata. We've got these beautiful aqua stoles from you, and I know you'll be talking a bit more about that. But I'm so happy that you're here to actually kick off this conversation, because we don't always look at the textile sector as part of our, typical arts and so forth. And India has such a rich history of textiles that I know we're going to talk about. Sukrit has already introduced you as the co-founder of the Color Ashram Foundation and the Biome Conscious Fashion with your partner, Arun Baig. And I know that Arun also has many years of experience in this, but I also know that you put in a lot of passion in the work that you're doing and facilitating workshops with young people and talking about the importance and significance of natural dyes in terms of, water and the shared waters and our water quality issues. So really happy to have you with us, Namrata. I know you have a presentation and then we'll get into some question answers. Right? Thank you, Namrata.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm really grateful to Living Water Museum and Sarah first, because when we met, I think I was just telling her that water is why we work. Like natural dyeing is a medium, but the real core, drive for us is to keep the water clean. Because, and we'll talk about how textiles and water is very interrelated. And we cannot work without using arts. So that is one of our major mode of communication. So if everybody's okay, I'm going to start with the presentation and I'm going to talk a little bit on each slide as I go through, right? So pardon me, because I'm going to say a few obvious things that people working on water absolutely know day in and day out, but just a gentle reminder, okay? So it's called Water and Textiles, and I want to present the part of water pollution and the solution, both related to textile industry. So let's remind ourselves. Of course, our planet is covered in water, but just 2.5% of that water is fresh. And out of that, 1/3 is liquid. Rest is locked up as ice. There isn't much fresh water, and textile industry has to use fresh drinking water only, rather not use pollute. So, this is one of the conceptual understanding. Why does water get polluted very easily? Because it is a universal solvent, which is able to dissolve most substances than any other liquid. And textile industry uses water in a very, very huge capacity. Just to give you a little idea about how much water. So a cotton t-shirt, when it is made in its whole life cycle, from the crop stage till the final stage when it comes out to you, it pollutes 2,500 liters, just one t-shirt. Now, if you can imagine the number of t-shirts in this world right now, cotton t-shirts, and the amount of water that we have, drinking water that we have polluted in the course. And a review of wastewater treatment has found that there are concentration of dyes, chemicals, and heavy metals in the water, which cause the toxicity. So it's not just dirt, or it's not just making water dirty, but it is making it very toxic. And it has been said that 1/5 of water pollution comes from textile industry, because it's very, very heavily based on water. Because of which also I'd like to point out here that a lot of polyester textile companies are claiming that they use less water, because they are not growing cotton and all of that, but they have their own problems. Okay, so what is the start and end of the story? even before water is used in the textile industry, the chemicals that are used, let me talk about that number. A minimum of 8,000 chemicals have to be used to make textiles working. And this 8,000 chemicals that are being made, they are polluting water on their level as well. And then we talk about the processing of the textiles, So it starts from the making of the chemicals, which is 8,000 chemicals. And then after it is used in the textile industry, which I mentioned, around one t-shirt uses 2,500 liters of water. After that, when you're washing your clothes, the simple act of washing clothes, which we think would be benign, but it's not. Because the detergents, I mean, if I ask everybody, how many of you have Surf Excel or Ariel or all those kind of detergents in your houses? Pretty much everyone. And that's a very, very strongly alkali. And we also use a lot of bleach because our clothes, after one time wash, they become from white to, slightly beige or brown or whatever. And we keep using bleach to show the brilliant white. But all of this is heavily, heavily polluting. If you look at about like all the consumers that are there, all of them putting this alkali detergent and bleach in the water, that's a very, very big polluting segment as well. Sorry, 1 second. Something wrong. This is one picture of, one picture of a factory in China where they're doing the dyeing, just to get a grasp of what happens. Besides all of the water which is used in the making of chemicals and in units, lot of textile units, because this colored water is a very dangerous thing coming out of a textile industry, and the pollution board is sitting on their heads that you cannot throw dirty water. What they do many times is that they reverse bore the dirty water in the soil, in the land. So it goes deep underground, and where the underground water, which has been collecting over years, that gets polluted immediately. Lot of places in Ahmedabad, many other places where there are dyeing units, when people make bore wells, they get colored water. Besides that, a lot of people don't have houses. They are living and they are getting their water from rivers, and all of these people are directly affected. Impact on environment, directly a lot of impact happens on the water, because this water, when it's going in the river and the oceans, then they increase their BOD and COD, and they inhibit the plant growth, the food chain. There is a lot of toxicity, carcinogenicity, and mutation that happens because of all of these chemicals, which are very, very complex. They do not break down very easily, So I would like you to just show a short film that we had made.
Is there a sound to it? Then you may have to share the sound. Please do.
Can you not hear the sound right now?
No, we don't hear it.
Oh.
And to go
So you might have to reshare the screen once again, and you'll get a click like a box to check.
Okay.
The share sound.
So I'll stop share and then reshare. That's what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll reshare, share
On the
screen.
bottom left, you'll see a checkbox which says share sound.
Okay. 1 second. Bottom left. I already said share. So
You already started sharing the screen actually.
Okay. So I have to,
So you just stop sharing.
Just give me a minute. Yeah. Share screen when I click. Yeah, share sound. Got it. Thank you so much. Okay. Enter my password. Sorry. 1 second. Okay, what I'll do is I have my YouTube on. I'll just play it from there. Okay. I think I'll just play. This is what- Can you hear the sound?
Yes, we hear, and make it full screen, please.
Okay. Yeah. I'll just make it full.
This is not a video about how vital water is. You already know that. This is not about how we are running out of it. You probably know about it. This is about water pollution and how the textile industry plays a major role in it. To give some perspective, a life cycle of one t-shirt pollutes around 2700 liters of water. A big part of that pollution comes from dyeing, which is the coloring of these fabrics. Most of our clothes, if not all, are dyed using synthetic chemical dyes, which are made up of inorganic compounds that contaminate our water. What's even more shocking is that on an average, any synthetic chemical dye holds between 8,000 to 15,000 different inorganic compounds. These compounds not only pollute our water, but also our skin. There's also an indirect source of pollution as water gets additionally polluted in preparation of raw material used in these dyes. And if all that wasn't enough, there's something making this crisis even worse. Fast fashion. Fast fashion is a recent trend in clothing that is characterized by rapid production and rotation of trendy clothing produced at bulk. This bulk makes our clothes cheaper, but the true cost of this cheap, trendy clothing is much higher. If you think this pandemic is bad, something that will probably last a year or two, think about the long-term severe environmental impact on our water systems, which will last generations.
Back to our- Wait 1 minute. Yeah, so this film is there on our YouTube channel. If anybody wants to share or watch again or understand, you can check it out. So here I'm talking about color. So color is the first thing that we notice in a garment. I like this color, so I want to buy this dress. But all of this color is actually creating a toxic soup of chemicals that comes out from the fashion industry, and it is filtering into the water systems of the planet. Sorry. It is in, now this is some, I think, I would say a check on reality. It is impossible to clean the textile, which, the water which is used in the textile, because the dyes are extremely complex. You can make it less harmful, but to completely clean it is almost next to impossible. And also it is so expensive that if any textile unit starts cleaning the water, actually the cleaning expense will be more than what they are spending on the textile itself. And textile industry is a cutthroat industry. When people are exporting, they have to, they bargain for paisas and rupees. And very big industries which are exporting, they have to clean their water partially. But there is a huge unorganized sector. We all know our street dyers and people who do crafts and all those. There is no pollution board checking on them. Whatever they do, nobody knows, and they're all dumping all this water, waste into the water. And so, yeah, just 20% of wastewater is being cleaned currently. What is the solution to pollution? Well, there's another film that I'd like to show you about this. Yeah.
Hi, welcome to part 2 of Water series. Let's talk about solution to pollution. So is the solution? Well, the solution is right in front of you. Not me, but the shirt that I'm wearing this. These are not blue stripes, these are indigo stripes. A color which was derived from the indigo plant, which was processed and ultimately applied on this fabric without the use of any toxic chemicals. That is what we call herbal dyes. What makes these dyes unique is the raw material, which is organic plant waste. Sourcing of these causes no stress to our environment whatsoever. Furthermore, the processing of this material into dye form is waterless. Water gets only used in the application of these dyes on the fabric. Unlike chemical dyeing that relies on thousands of different chemicals to imprint color on the fabric and produce a standard shade, herbal dyes use no such chemicals, thus making the water free from contamination. The byproduct of this dye, which is solid waste and water, the solid waste that come out of these dyes can be used as manure, and the water that comes out of this can be freely sent back to a water system without the worry of any pollution. This water cycle of herbal dye is a true solution to water pollution, and such solutions are our only way forward.
Yeah, so I mean, we can talk about the pollution, but we also need to focus on what is the solution for it. If we cannot tell people about how they can actually do something about this, what's the point? I mean, there is some point about talking about it, but we also have a solution, and that's what I'd like to present today. So I mean, one of the solution for anybody who's making clothes, whether it's an individual, an artisan, or an industry, we at Color Ashram have worked on solutions for every level. We have been the industrial pioneers of natural dyeing on textile machines. The same machines that can do chemical dye can actually do natural dye with our solutions. So we have worked on it, and if anybody is interested, we are available for training and for transitioning. But as a consumer, let's say if you're a consumer, what can you do? So you can use eco-friendly detergents. You can learn to, buy natural dyed clothing and learn to take care of it, because natural dyed clothing needs some gentle care. You need to use gentle detergents, not Surf Excel and all of those things. And you have to be open for it to fade, because these are natural dyes, on time, in time, they will go a shade lighter. But if you want, you can also learn to dye your clothes yourself, or you can re-dye as well. There are many, many options. So we all have to be very creative if we really want to embrace this solution. We cannot be demanding and say that we want the same colors. Yeah. Here is a problem. Natural dye also has its challenges. I wanted to put this across as well, that, it's not all this is a very easy solution, because today, 70% of garments are made from polyester. We cannot do natural dye on them. We can only do natural dye on natural fibers. And hence, the whole industry is actually shifting to these wonderful new fibers which are coming up, like bamboo, rose, soya bean, orange. Many, many kinds of fibers are coming up. So that is one point. Second thing is that natural dyeing could also be done with toxic metal fixers or mordants. So you can take dye from a plant, but you could take the fixer from a heavy metal or chemical. Then it's no point, because it's still polluting water. Technically, it is natural dye, but no, it does not keep the water safe. And lastly, natural dye cannot support fast fashion. We have to consume less. We have to consume slow. This is what you get, a beautiful blue dress, but this is the water that comes out and goes into the river. Again, a beautiful orange dress, but this is how the river and the water system would look like. So we cannot imagine, because we are shopping from shops and we have no idea what is happening behind. So if you do want, you can actually find out. There is a load of data on the on internet to look for. We love color, art, and clothes. How can we do all these three things? We could do it with beautiful natural dyes. This garment here that the model is wearing is natural dyed clothing. So is this. This is dyed with the root called madder. It gives a pinkish and reddish color. Pomegranate peel gives beautiful yellow color. And this top is, this is the kind of yellow you can get from pomegranate. Flame of forest flowers can give you a beautiful orange color. And indigo, which is one of our favorite colors, the most royal color. And you can get beautiful blues with it. And this slide also shows the product that we made for Living Water Museum. They came forward and they said that, okay, we want to start using natural dyes. Let's use it in our gift, stores and products that they were using in some of the events. This is a part of the process that we did in the packaging. The ink for printing on the paper was also indigo. You have a choice, and if you do want to know about it, we are available on, this is our website, YouTube channel, as well as Instagram, you can find us. And we also are building a community like W4W Foundation, which is a citizens collective. We do believe that the government is not ready to take the step. Companies definitely not. You know what is the biggest problem with companies? If they bring out natural dye, that means that everything that they have in their stock already or what they have been doing is strongly chemical and harmful. Why would they like to show that everything that they have been doing is wrong? That is one of the problems. Secondly, it is going to increase their cost at this level because they have to learn, they have to adapt, and they have to teach the consumer how to take care of it. All these are uphill battles. So the person who's actually ready to take on is the consumer, you and me. And so just like you people, we have a community that we're trying to build, which can create the demand and awareness for this. And I'm not going to show this because I think it's covered already. There are many films that we've made. It's on our YouTube. If you want to know more about natural colors, we'll be more than happy for you to go there and see. And we have made natural colors and training for application on wall, on wood, paper, garments, and fabric. This wall painting behind is done with natural colors in this photo here. Thank you for listening. I hope I've been able to keep my presentation in my time slot. I will just stop the screen sharing now. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Namrata. It was a very insightful presentation, and your message came across very strongly. So thank you very much. I have a few questions for you, and if anyone in the audience wants to ask questions, they can put them in the chat box. And I think if you're on YouTube, there should be somewhere you can comment as well. So Namrata, you talked about the reasons why the industrial world, the world that makes clothing and all for us, the fashion world, would not really like to switch to natural dyes because it would affect their profit margins. And I'm wondering, it's like the organic food argument almost, like producing organic food is in a way more costly unless it goes to scale compared to all the other food we eat, which is infused with chemicals and pesticides. So what are some of the costs of using natural dye, both in terms of labor, but also other costs,
Yeah. So I think what you already mentioned, scale is a very big factor here. If natural dyeing demand increases, then the cost is going to come down. Right now, it's not even 1% of textile industry. It's not available. So the few people who are doing, they have to bear their input cost, their overhead cost of running a unit or whatever is huge. If they get more business, they will be able to bring it down. Secondly, right now, handicraft people and hand dyeing is what is most prevalent in natural dyes. Hand dyeing is always, it's like an artisan work. So just like you cannot have a cheap handicraft product, you cannot have a cheap natural dye product. But if natural dye can go on machines, the cost will come down a lot, because at that scale, water will be used as very less, 1/10, or it can come down to 1/20th of water, In fact, even more than that, machine use very less water, and also the cost will come down. The raw material cost of natural dyes is actually not going to be much. If in some years this industry sees a boom, the cost is going to be lower than chemical dyes. Right now, but I'm not going to paint that picture because it's in future. I don't know how many years into future. Right now, if anybody decides to use natural dyes, what will be the cost compared to the chemical dyes is what I'd like to share. So if you're doing it on machine, same machines that do chemical dyes, and you're doing natural dyes, your cost will be almost comparable. Given that you're using good quality synthetic dyes, you're comparing with that factor, because in synthetic dyes also you can get color for 50 rupees as well as for 500. If you're an exporter, you would be using good quality dyes. You cannot use heavily, azo dyes and many other cheaper dyes. So if you compare with the best quality of dye, which is used in exporting, markets, with
Right.
that, if you compare, it would be comparable to similar cost. It won't be too much. And we have really worked on that so that we can make it viable at Kalarashram.
So
Yeah.
that's the cost of the production part of it. I was also wondering about the cost of actually, finding the indigo and the orange flame tree and the pomegranate
Yes.
and actually producing the natural dye. Because
Colors.
when you look at organic fertilizers, there's a lot of labor involved, and that labor
Yes.
tends to be female labor. So people
Yes.
often say, doing organic agriculture is labor intensive, but in the long run, we understand that it's better, our costs have come down, the crop is better, etc. So
Yes.
does the production of the dye itself have a high cost?
If it is done in the traditional method, traditional
No.
dye, yes, it is. But actually, our method is way out of the box. So what we are doing is my partner Arun Ved, he's been working on this innovation where he does not use a conventional method. He's not using that amount of raw material. He's hacked his own formula to make it less expensive and less intensive on raw materials. But this is just like one or few people who work. Like if more people, like if the demand for natural dyes grows, there'll be so many minds who will be working on bringing the cost down. So there are solutions. Also, a very interesting thing which is now coming up in a very big way is the microbe dye. So microbes are being created to create color. They will eat and produce color, not the dye material. So this is the future. I mean, we will have a lot of solutions. If we want to really do it, we will find them.
So we will, yeah. So linked to that, talking about scale, and again, going back to agriculture and food and all, and we have the whole slow food movement, which you know about as well. How does the slow fashion, I know that there is slow design and slow fashion, but again, how do things like that compare with the slow food movement? I mean, people are conscious of eating the right food, not eating fast food, and also I think with the pandemic, we did see an increase in healthy eating and conscious eating, right? Or what we call mindful eating. Now, when you talk about 2,500 or 2,700 liters of water for a t-shirt being affected, how does that, do people really think about it the same way? Because food is something I put in my body straight away. Clothes are, I wear them,
Actually, we don't have to look at clothes. We need to look at water.
Yeah.
Water crisis is a real issue. And water pollution, if we are polluting 2,500 liters of water for one t-shirt, and if we are told that this is our water, which is going scarce anyway, it's going to bring I think the water story has to, and the water debate has to come in with the textile here, not just the skin. Also, I think the slow fashion movement is right now in a very, very organic level, and it's not really taken on in a way that maybe slow food has taken on, because there was this movement called fashion revolution, which happened some years back, and now everybody knows about it. It's a big thing. It's celebrated every year, and people do a lot of events. They focused on being ethical. It was about paying the right price to the people who make your clothes, especially branded clothes and all. Similarly, we need to have a color revolution, which will expose how much water, because water and dyes are not connected. Water and clothes are not connected yet. That connection, when it brings in, when the consumer knows about it and they demand that I want my water clean, so I want natural dyes, I think it's going to take off. Right now, it's not there. I would really say everywhere there is,
I think you're right that the leadership also needs to come from the water sector, because the leadership for slow food came from chefs. It came from people who actually cook and who wanted to make a difference, and then working with farmers and etc. And I think for slow food to have that impact, it also needs to be led by people from the fashion world. I mean, slow fashion. It needs to be led by the fashionistas that we think about sometimes, right? It needs that.
Absolutely.
And you made a point that the government is also not interested in what textiles and chemical dyes are doing to our water. So I wanted to ask you also, in terms of your own work, are you beginning to think about policy impact? Because you're doing such great work and it doesn't get translated into, for example, even the Water Policy Act, or something like that. We are not seeing these issues, arts, crafts, textiles, being recognized as issues that affect our access and use of water. We're not seeing how does one get that into the policy discourse on water?
Yeah, there is no place for natural dye in the textile ministry or segment. There is no word textile. It is not even considered an authentic way of dyeing clothes, because this has not seen that industrial application yet. So it's almost like homeopathy, right now. Nobody considers it like a proper medication. So we do not have any standard certification or benchmark for natural dyes at the ministry, at the textile level. So unless this comes in, it's not even recognized actually. The only body which is kind of have some parameters for this is GOTS, the Global Organic, Textile Association. So they are actually, they check your dyes and everything, but they're usually doing it for less impact dyes. In chemical dyes also, there are these less impact and more impact dyes. We have to pay 18% GST on our dyes, which is like we should be subsidized, but we come under chemicals. There is no segment for natural elements, because the government has to tell that what is natural, what is harmful, like even those segregation have not been done. So there is a huge scope, but I think with the government, what it is that when some problem becomes very big, or it is an industry which is already in place, then they would put the attention there. Right now, this industry is probably so small that they are not paying the attention there. But luckily for us, I think I was at ITMA in Milan at the Textile and Industrial Fair. The interest in natural dyes has really, really gone up. So it is going to come up. In Europe, especially, they are all telling to move towards eco-friendly, sustainable dyes. So I think this is a way, forward, that if it becomes popular, I think the pressure has to come from consumers and awareness activity. If all of us start pushing the pressure that we want it, then I think it'll happen.
Yeah,
government will only do in fact, I met so many people there who said that water cleaning is applied on India in some states. It's slowly moving towards north. South is the most compliant. West is slowly taking on, and then it will be north. But in Bangladesh, there's nothing as such. So there are many countries where there is no compliance, on these things about the health of the people or the water and all of these things. In Europe, of course,
Namrata, sorry to interrupt you. What did you call that compliance measure? What did you call?
It's called ZLD, zero liquid discharge. So the industries cannot discharge liquid now, because in South, Tirupur is the hub of textiles. All the brands, their work are done in there. So at one point, few years back, the whole river had died. All the fishes died, and the units were shut down. There had to be a measure to check this. And then a lot of, these measures came in, and they've started, complying with those things now. But it is yet to come in the north part of India. Like if you see Ludhiana, there's nothing there right now. Bangladesh, nothing there right now. So, I mean, in Europe, of course, also, if you look at it, it's very interesting. All the dyeing industries are accumulated in India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, all these places. It's not there in US, Canada, and Europe. It's very, very few industries, and they are extremely strict on cleaning their water. Also, the cleaning systems are so expensive that, a country like Bangladesh will not afford till they are actually paid for cleaning. So it's like you want cleaning, but nobody's ready to pay the price for it. So these are like a can of worms if you open it right now.
Yeah, but it's kind of similar to, the debates and arguments around climate change mitigation as well, and what you want the developing world to do, but you're not willing to share the green technology without all the licensing fees and everything else applied to it.
Yes.
And so you want to buy, organic food from India or wherever, or you want to buy more conscious clothing, but you don't have the right indicators, or, checking the parameters. Yes, we don't, even for organic food. How do I know what a label says? Earlier, Fab India used to have certification, big posters in the shops, but they've taken all that out.
Right. Because they're not following. So also, I'll also like to draw a comparison. So at Itma, we found one machine out of those very, very huge halls. One machine that somebody has designed, I think it was in alliance with France, which can do natural dyeing and can do like 2-3 meters of fabric and some kgs of yarn. And it costs 35 lakh rupees. Okay. And it's still a very small hand dyeing machine. We are making here machine that we can give at 2 to 5 lakh rupees, and you can do 100 meters in it. So there is a scope for innovation, and India has a lot of scope. In fact, we have worked on it a lot. So if anybody wants to go, there are cheaper ways to go in it as well. It doesn't have to be so expensive. So innovation cannot be hugely expensive. It has to be,
and there are
the
National Institute of Fashion Technology and things like that in India. So we can do this if there is a will and a way.
A will, absolutely. The will is the key. Solution is not the key. I think if we open up and also creating the demand for it, if people say that we want this, companies are only happy to please people, whatever they want to buy. So I think it has to be a demand, as well as there'll be a huge number of innovators who will bring a lot of solutions in this field. Yeah.
Remember when we were growing up, it was, you didn't buy things that were not consciously made, because there was that in the textile sector in the 80s and 90s, it was the exploitation of cheap labor in Bangladesh. Okay, that was the big issue for textiles globally. All the multinational work was around labor and, the hazards and everything else. No one really thought about natural dyes in the 80s and 90s in the same way. They looked at textiles and they thought of labor. So you were always buying clothes that had a label saying that this was, consciously made or didn't affect anyone's human rights or something like that. But we haven't thought about from a water rights lens.
Absolutely. We can, if we work with natural dyes, we can have a solution that is beautiful for our skin, our water, and our eyes as well. These shades are very, very soothing, and they do not attack like chemical colors. Really, if you start looking at the natural and the chemical hues, you will feel that. So
Thank you so much, Namrata. I'd like to open the floor now for other questions. I think we have another 10 minutes or so left. So Sukrit, are there questions that would you like to moderate this?
Just checking YouTube as well for questions. They are outsourcing all dirty businesses to countries.
May I ask a question, Sarah? So I will go ahead. So thank you for the wonderful presentation, Namrata. And I think very clear thoughts, and I think very simply you explained some things which are important for us to understand. I have some questions coming out of concern, having involved in water sector for nearly 3 decades now. We know that it is about people, it's about community, and that will change the market, that will change the governance of, let's say, water here, or even fashion here for that matter. If we know that, and if we have designers like you in the country, and we have also some good fashion institutes, where do you see that we can actually start really talking to people. And this is about people who can afford both fashion, you know. Those who are going for quick fashion are the ones who needs to be, you know, educated about slow fashion, because we cannot go and talk about slow fashion to already poor people, you know. We have to hit the educated people and all. And that also becomes easy for us, you know, because we can really explain to them. What do you think? I mean, you are already talking about a color ashram. It's a beautiful name as an ashram, where you are already talking about education. How do you think we should really start thinking about educating the educated already, about being a little bit more concerned, even if it costs them a little more on their pocket? So instead of buying 10 clothes, if people can buy 2 clothes in a year, it will cost them same. But what are the tools available to make people understand this? Or, I mean, I use very strong words to shake people about it.
I think people need not be convinced, or even it's just about reaching them, you know, because once people see the product out of it, cannot be a statistic that we are saying, or it cannot be a news that we are trying to convey, or a lecture we are trying to give. We have to show them. Also, people have not seen or heard about natural dye, so they also need to have some visual identity of the process, you know. So I mean, Kalarasham, we created these things called festival, you know, natural color festival, where we do is that we have a whole area where 30% process is being shown. So people can come and dabble with the work. 30%, there are brands who are making these clothes with natural dyes. There are already many, many startup brands, and these are all young people who are making. They can sell their products there. And then there are these open flow, like film screening, debates, and other things that are happening. In fact, Dr. Sarah has been part of one of my festival in Bangalore. So I feel that we have to be doing this very subtly through arts, through festival. First of all, it has to be a celebration of natural color, to show that how natural, because people have to see the product. They, after hearing everything, they will go back and say, I need to look good. So just because you're saying it pollutes water, I mean, because their whole identity is with the way they dress up, and they have to look beautiful. So I think the product and its outreach, marketplaces for selling this product, is what is required firstly. If people start seeing these, how they can be designed and worn, if there could be fashion show, there could be festivals, there could be events where we can display all of this, public will automatically get educated. And arts is a beautiful way of educating people through theater, music, shows, and visual, fashion shows and stuff, rather than taking it as a intellectual thing, or say, making people guilty about wearing this other kind of clothes. We need to give them a solution. So all of these designers who are working, I can tell you that they are already walking a tough path. And when you ask them to take part in an exhibition where the prices are so expensive, because all the commercial textiles have a huge margin, right? They can afford these spaces, but for natural dye marketplaces, we have no space. And when they are asked to, give such a big chunk of money as commission or whatever, it's not the rate of the garment or, person to participate becomes very difficult. That is one thing. Second thing is at the student level, you rightly said, all the textile design institutes should start having a curriculum, because all these students come to us because they do not have any subject practical application in their colleges. None of the colleges have it right now.
I can.
So if we could request, if you could find a way to reach the textile colleges to do this, and it all has to happen at the policy level as well. This is not like teachers would like to do it, students would like to do it, but I think these are more powerful decisions which are taken from, up there. So I feel like if we can just slowly make a place, we don't want to change the whole chemical dye industry. We just want to say, let's make a place for putting this on the shelf as well, natural dye. Even if 10% people start using this, there will be a huge difference,
So you made Sukrit, may I go ahead with two little questions, and maybe Namrata can be shorter also for my questions.
Yes.
But you went on to say that it is not to make people guilty, but probably as professional ethics from your side, yes, you may not really do that because it straight away gets into a competition mode with people you may not like to compete, and of course they are powerful, they are selling cheap products. But I don't think as water activists and water scholars are doing enough
Yes.
to inform people the direct implication of fashion to the water pollution, like the pictures you showed. If you are wearing pink color, what's going into the river? If you are wearing blue color, what's going into the river? I think there is a lot more to be done from that side, even if it means shaming and naming. I recall a quote from Philip Uta who says, we have the names and addresses of people who are destroying the world. And how long can we hide those names? I don't know. I mean, his quote is over, but I'm just thinking to myself, do you know many people who are really trying to do the other side of it and tell people or inform people how harmful it is? Because not many water activists are directly linking fashion to other things,
Yeah.
because they become a bridge, because government is not going to make much changes unless and until they are made to realize all the focus is on treatment. My last question to you is, when you're talking about getting a natural dye, I saw beautiful pomegranate. How do you acquire raw material? I mean, what kind of sources are there for you people, and how much do you need? Let's say I want to get a t-shirt done with pomegranate. How much of pomegranate and how do you acquire? Are these, fresh fruits, or are these wastes of the fruits? Because that is also important for people to know when we are talking about natural diet. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to your responses.
Yeah. No, so yeah, I'm going to start with the second question that you said. So the waste of nature is shedding waste all the time. The waste of nature can be easily used for making natural dyes. We don't have to rely on any food or any fresh produce. In fact, the dry materials are the better sources of color. But again, there has to be more ways of looking at color. If you take pomegranate peel and make a color bath or whatever, you can do small dyeing. You cannot do industrial with it. For industrial, there has to be a different formula, which is what we are working on. So getting smarter and using it in a way that you don't have to use too much of material. The traditional natural dyeing relies on using a lot of material because every material in nature has only 5% color. So to get 5 grams color, you need actually 100 grams of the material, which is a lot. These are some issues why people think it cannot go in industrial level. That's where we really come in with our solution as well. And I'm sure that many more people might be thinking about it, might be doing something in it. So there is a way to solve this, and waste of nature can be used. And your first question, of course, the role of activist, artist, every role is very different and every approach is needed to kind of converge and bring this change. As for your point, there is no connection of water and fashion right now. Fashion is limited to about ethical fashion and not using polyester and maybe, because the landfill is a very, very big issue right now. In fact, in Europe, they are passing a law that you cannot throw anything in the soil. But it's in Europe. It'll never happen. I don't know when it'll happen in any other country like ours or Bangladesh for that matter. So I think landfill, because excess clothing is a really, really big issue. Fast fashion and the number of clothes that people don't need and they are being burnt and thrown in the soil. This is a more important issue. I think water and textiles have not come up as an issue in a big way right now. Nobody talks about it. Definitely at ITMA, I could see all the people who are working with chemical dyes. They are claiming that they have reduced their water from 100% to 80% to 90 point this percent or whatever. So they are saying they're using less water. That's at the best that they are, talking about. But contamination of water, nobody's talking about it.
I don't think Ministry of Water and Ministry of Textile even ever had sat together in last 76 years. So thank you.
Yeah, I think opening the conversations between people is probably the first.
We are trying to do that in Wednesdays and
Yeah.
Fridays sessions. So over to you,
Yeah.
Supreet. Thank you.
Namrata, I just have one last question for her,
Yes.
which is that, natural dyes, from what I've seen is, and I could be wrong, but it's more the casual clothing. I cannot imagine Indian wedding clothes and silk Kanchivaram saris and all patolas and whatnot that we have using natural dyes. Am I correct? Or
No, it's
all the big
part-
fashion names in India?
Yeah, right. So as you go darker in shades and brighter in shades, that's the point where people have started using chemicals along with natural dyes. It could be done, but then they would mix. So yeah, the palette has to become pastel first. We have to mature to that and then go to darker shades. But all this can be done. Like, just like you can dye cotton, silk is even better. So I think it can be definitely all the silk, satin, everything could be dyed with natural dyes and they look beautiful. Actually, it could be done. We could also use gold with natural dyes. It's just that curve has not taken, into fashion. Yeah.
So next time I will not ask you only for the
No,
sarongs
not
and
at all.
socks.
No,
You come to
yes.
the golden hills now.
Definitely. I think because the price for making these for people is so high right now that the cotton itself is high. If they go into silk, they would probably only make it on order. They will not have a stock of it. But it can be beautifully done. It can go into luxury clothing absolutely well. Yeah.
Good to know.
Thank you
Okay.
so much. I think this has been a very, very exciting conversation. And it's because of people like you that, a person like me, a young person like me, I still have hope that, yes, there is still enough left and we can probably,
Yes.
go towards a better world. I've been just, during the entire time of your talk, I've been just thinking of the number of times I've been fighting with my friends. Every time they are like, there is a sale in Zara or, things like that.
Yeah.
And I just, anyway, there are very difficult conversations I've had with, the women friends I have particularly. But of course, these conversations need to start somewhere. Like you said, I think more than anything, awareness is more important, that what you're wearing is not just what you're wearing. It's a lot more that you cannot see. So thank you.
What is possible? I mean, besides, if this is not good, what is the option? I think showing that is probably what this presentation and this whole today, this session is all about. So thank you for you guys for inviting me to share this.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And I think we will discuss ways in which we can involve more of the future generations to start talking about it, because they are the ones who will, be waiting for an open market, discussing, what they want next. So definitely, I think we need to have sessions with younger children, particularly to make them understand that what are they wearing. So thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. M. Thank you, Ms. Bhutoria, for this wonderful talk. We are elated and we are very hopeful that we will be doing many such, very interesting sessions in the future as well. So now I would like to pass on the screen to Ms. Bhargava to take the next steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Sukrit, and thank you, Sarah, for bringing this whole idea to do water arts here at Friday Waters, and also getting Namrata to us and really help us understand that how we can really change our fashion and still be more mindful to our planet and water. Even people like us who have been working in water sector, we have not been so mindful ourselves. So we can change, and that is where people like Namrata are required. So thank you, Namrata, for such a wonderful, simple presentation to bring to us. And also, I'm really excited, and I hope that I can bring students from design and planning and architecture school to your place, to your ashram, and show them. So thanks all the participants for being with us. We are inching towards 200 sessions of water conversations, and we really want to make it the longest water conversation in the world ever, because as rightly mentioned by Namrata, by Sarah, by Sukrit, that these conversations are extremely important, and these are the ones which are going to echo into the corridors of the policy as well as into the lanes of the society. So next week's announcement before I close the session. So we are very excited for next Friday as well, when we do Water Talkies. And this Friday, we have the film named Water itself. And we are going to have the screenwriter, Mr. Shankar Gauri, and cinematographer, S.K. Amir Basha, to talk about the making of the film. It's a very, emotional film you may like to watch, but we don't do the whole film. We just talk about making of the film. So next Wednesday, we have our Lake and Pond series, Just Like Water, Arts and Water Talkies. We in Wednesdays are also having some themes. In our Lake and Pond series, we are actually getting one of the well-known next-gen leader, and that is Arun Krishnamurthy, and we are going to talk about cleaning one lake at a time, and he is just grounded person. So do join us for these sessions. All the information about our sessions are at www.w4w.in. And I really wish Living Waters Museum to continue doing these kind of alternate water conversations, which are extremely important, because often many a time science does not reach to people's heart. And I think we need to move hearts more than moving minds now. We have very good minds in the world, but we need to now move hearts. Thank you so much, all of you. And please take care of yourself and see you soon.
Oops.
Sukrit,
Bye.
you have the link to live, and
How many people did we have on YouTube? So
I think Sukrit should be able to tell. And yeah, you may close the live now. Yeah. But anyway, we are going to trim, and I will request Sukrit to keep the live in public till we get the edited version. So that once we have the edited version, we are going to share the edited video also with you, so that you can place it in the YouTube. So it will be at 2 places.
because we can't hear you, you're muted.
I'm just saying, did you take back the host thing from me?
Okay, sorry. Yes, because I had to. Yeah, I will just keep making.
Yeah, because I couldn't switch off the live.
Okay. Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Can you tell us how many were there on YouTube?